Welcome to the Online Strength Coach Podcast, episode 107. Happy New Year to everybody. Welcome to 2017, the time of recording. It's the new year, 3rd of January 2017, so Happy New Year. I haven't recorded in a couple of months, as those of you who follow me regularly will be aware. Reason being, moved into a new flat in November of last year. And just with the way my schedule's been between long distance relationship, jobs, businesses, excuse, I haven't unpacked my office basically. So at the minute, the office, I'm recording out of the kitchen in the new flat. My office is currently full of shit from the flat that I probably don't need. So within the next week, my goal is to gut that out, get a desk in it, so I've got my office space, because currently I'm working on my breakfast couch in the kitchen, which is fine, but the acoustics probably aren't what they are, and since I share the flat, it's not ideal for recording things, because there's washing machines, people cooking here, and so on and so forward. So the topic of today is a podcast, is New Year's resolutions, specifically towards lifting. So I'm going to cover a couple of topics within this. The first thing we'll cover is how to get started in lifting if you're new. And the second one is how to reintroduce yourself into lifting if you've been away for a couple of weeks over Christmas, New Year's. Usual trend is for people to kind of fall off the bandwagon for 2 to 4 weeks, and then kind of get out of shape, decondition, and then kind of ramped up in January to get into it. So for you older people or you more experienced lifters, we're going to talk about how to kind of bridge that gap so you're not going to end up overdoing it or getting injured within the first kind of 2 to 4 weeks of training. Because if you're going to hurt yourself, it's usually that's the time period when it's going to happen. Changes in training load, changing dramatic swings down and up within your normal training volume, your normal training intensities, these are what cause injuries. It's not necessarily a large amount of training or high amount of intensity in the program that causes injury, because you can't actually condition to that, you can't get used to it. It's the swings up and down. Those are the things that cause injury with the lifters. Okay, so if you're new, so maybe you've been at the gym for a while, you kind of been doing cardio, you've been in classes, maybe you want to get into weights. On another side, maybe you want to get into fitness, but cardio and sports not really your thing. Maybe you discovered starting strength, another one of the websites aimed towards novice lifters, and you thought, you know what, I really want to get into this. How do I go about it? So if you're new and you're listening to this podcast, what I would say is set the bar really low to start with. I wouldn't even worry about, you can start a program if you want, something like starting strength, where it's 3 days a week. It's a very simple program. It's laid out well. You can follow it. It's very easy to follow. Something like that's probably a pretty good starting point if you want to start to a program. But if maybe you're not even sure about what program to start with, or you're in the process of making a decision of how to start, my advice to that person or to anyone is to just show up to the gym. Don't worry about the program you're going to do. Don't worry about your goals. Don't worry about what you want to do in 6 months' time, 12 months' time. Because if you don't start, none of the goals are going to be achieved. You're basically going to be looking online, looking at Reddit, looking at YouTube, listening to podcasts like this, thinking, what's the best program for me? Or should I do more of a powerlifting program, more of a weightlifting program? It doesn't matter. You can start with CrossFit, you can start with weightlifting, you can start with powerlifting, you can start with starting strength, you can start with bodybuilding. It doesn't matter how you get started. What matters is that you get started. So I would basically just show up 2 days a week, even 1 day a week, whatever you can consistently do for about 4 to 6 weeks. And then after you've been consistently showing up to the gym, even if it's showing up to the gym, doing a couple of squats or fanning around on the machines, if you can do that consistently for 4 to 6 weeks, and you're in that habit now where you're going to the gym minimum 1 day a week, but preferably like 2 to 3 days a week, and that's now part of your routine, then I would look to add something like a program. I did a post like this, did a post similar to this recently on the Cast Iron Strength Facebook, and basically the advice was just to pick up a new habit every 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. 6 weeks being ideal, because within 6 weeks, if you can consistently do it and have like a 90% compliance within the first 6 weeks, chances are that's going to slip into habit. So if you can just do that, just don't worry so much about what you're doing. and just show up. That's the first kind of protocol. That's the most important thing you can do. Just do something. Just go to the gym and do something. Now, within this, what I would probably advise you to do, I would advise you to pick up something fairly easy to start with. If you have access to coaching, if there's a weightlifting club, barbell club, powerlifting club nearby, that is the gold standard, a priori. Go and do that. That's fantastic. Most people won't have access to that, however. They're still not. They are growing in frequency. Like there's a lot more clubs popping up all over the place in different towns and cities and stuff. So you probably can find something now. It's not like maybe 10, 20 years ago where within the UK maybe there was like 10, 20 clubs dotted about the place. They're in the hundreds now, so chances are you can probably find a club. So if you can find a club, that's probably the best place to start. Just let the coach know you're a complete ranked beginner. You like to get into CrossFit, weightlifting, powerlifting, whatever it is, and just crack on with that. Failing that, if you don't have a coach and you want a program to start on, if you're a ranked novice, I definitely would check out Starting Strength. It's a very straightforward program, concentrated around squat, bench, deadlift, chin up, overhead press, compound movements. Very simple periodization scheme, but it works. That's something you can run for 6 to 12 months happily. Get some good progress, kind of get your feet in the door. There are a couple other novice templates out there. That's the best known by a mile, and there's a reason why it's so popular, because it is straightforward and it does work. And then from there, you can kind of decide, you know what, powerlifting's not really for me. Not really digging deadlifts. Quite like the look of CrossFit. Quite like the look of weightlifting. Really into powerlifting. Then I can go from there. So once you've been in lifting for a few months, you'll probably get an idea, or maybe you'll decide that you want to try a different strength sport. When you get to that stage, definitely seek out a coach. Outside of seeking out a coach, you can check out YouTube. There's good channels out there. My channel, obviously, is the one I'll plug first, but you have Juggernaut Training Systems, Powerlifting to Win does a pretty good job. You have Bryce Lewis. There are various channels out there that you can pick stuff up from. Alan Thrall does really good exercise tutorials. My goal is to continue the exercise tutorials this year, pick that up, do a better job, higher production rate on that. Your strongest year, if you've been at it for about 6 to 12 months, that would probably be the best program I would advise you to go towards. That's my new website, yourstrongestyear.com. Check that out. We got our first block of the year up there. That's not something for a novice though. That's for your intermediate. So probably advise if you've been lifting for about a year, 6 months to a year, you understand training. You can do deadlift, squat, and bench with decent technique, and you've trained for an absolute minimum 6 months, but probably a year to 2 years. Check that program out. It's an annual program. It's a year-long periodized routine that'll be released on the 28th of every month, and you can follow it and actually do a year's worth of training, as opposed to picking up like a week template, which is what Starting Strength is, or a 4-week template, which is 531 is, or like the bigger, more complex templates like Juggernaut, which is like a 8 to 12 week training cycle or training template. So in the other scenario, if you've been maybe training for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 5 years, 2 years, you trained for a while, you trained hard last year, you took 2 to 4 weeks off, and you want to get back into it, where do you start? How do you start without snapping yourself up? It's fairly straightforward. What I would suggest is stay away from intensity. Don't worry about it for certainly the first 2 weeks, definitely the first week. Just start off with a normal kind of frequency. So if you train 4 days a week, just go right back to 4 days. There's no reason you don't have to do 3 or 2. If you train with 3, just go back to 3. Maybe if you train like 6 to 7, or you do like double sessions, maybe start back with like a 4-day, 5-day routine with single sessions. For the more advanced lifter, or the lifters who maybe do 8 to 12 sessions over the week, although for powerlifting, you probably don't exist, or you're in Norway and you're coach, so you know exactly what you're doing. But for the powerlifters who have the higher frequency routines, I'd probably advise you go back just to the number of days. So I wouldn't go back to double sessions, I'd just go back to single sessions. So if you train 6 days a week, just go back to single sessions 6 days a week, probably certainly for the first couple of weeks, to kind of get back into the routine, get back to stretching your muscles, recovering from it, get the DOMs out the way, just do it in that kind of manner. For the more normal lifters, the self-coach lifter, who was most of this information is targeted at, Go back to your normal amount of days. So if you do an upper lower split, just go right back to it. Go back to your normal frequency on the lift. So if you train bench once a week, go back to once a week. If you train squat twice a week, go back to twice a week. Just go back to your normal routine. Don't do anything else. Don't pick up a new program. Don't do small off. Don't do Russian squat routine. Don't change anything. Just go back to your normal habits. So your normal habits are frequency and train the exercise with the normal frequency you do. Next thing that we do, just look to do variations of the exercise. So what I would do, I use this as an opportunity to kind of freshen up a little bit. So unless you absolutely need them, get rid of the belt, get rid of the knee sleeve, get rid of the knee wraps, get rid of the squat suit. Unless you need them to train. Some people with like shit knees, bad backs, don't need this shit to train, so you'll probably have to use it. But for those of you who are maybe a bit healthier, or a bit younger, or a bit newer, use at least this month to train without any supportive equipment. Go to larger range of motion exercises, different exercises. So if you normally do the low bar, more powerlifting style squat, or you squat to chest parallel, chuck in some high bar squat, go all the way down. Chuck in some front squat, go all the way down. For bench press, chuck in some close grip, some incline, decline, some dumbbells even. For deadlift, maybe look at some deficit, maybe do some like pause variations, some halting variations. Just train with straight weight. There's no real need to bring in the chains, bands, any accommodating resistance. There's no need for AMRAPs. There's no need for like lifting over 90%. I would probably, fairly straightforward cycle you could do would be, say, 70 to 100 lifts per exercise week 1, with an average intensity of about 55%. Week 2, maybe look at 40 to 60 lifts per exercise, average intensity of about 65%. And then week 2 and 4, just so week 3 will be like week 1, except with less total lifts. So maybe we say 70 to 80 total lifts per exercise, slightly higher average intensity of about 60%, so about 5% higher. And then week 4, you're looking to kind of bridge into your more normal sort of training. So an average lift of about 30 to 50 per exercise, and an average intensity of about 75%. And that kind of month will, one, it will give you a chance to work on your technique without the supportive equipment. So likes of the knee sleeves, likes of the belt. It'll let you just kind of feel the movement again. Especially with the belt, it can become a crutch. So it allows you to get away with a lot of extra range of motion in the back, like not tensing correctly, not getting your air correctly. You can get away with a lot of shit in the belt that you can't get away with out of it. So it's just generally good practice. Kind of ditch it for a period. Just kind of work on your movement efficiency, your skill. Knee sleeves again. They can hide things within the knee. I'd probably just the knee sleeves about 3 weeks ago, and I've noticed I've got like a little niggle on my left knee. It's starting to go away now that I've been training out of the sleeves for a bit. So again, some people really do require them to train in. That's fine. Keep them, train with them. But definitely would advise, if you're healthy enough, to get rid of all the supportive equipment. So it really does help with skill learning. I can't really put that across in strong enough terms for you. So like it's similar, like a fairly like a volume-based approach, different exercises, higher range of motion than normal, challenge the skill component in different ways, and basically just kind of break yourself in easy to training. Don't do anything nuts. Don't start off with some stupid program. Just start off fairly normal, with a higher volume, lower average intensity. Ditch the supportive gear and maybe try some different variations. Try a couple of different new things, but don't try too much new at once. Okay, hope that's useful. Any topics you'd like me to cover? I'm gonna 100% put out one a week at least. I'm gonna try to put out 2 a week for the rest of the year. So if you have any topics you'd like me to cover, anything you'd like me to speak about, or any guests you'd like me to get on the show maybe, just leave a comment below or shoot an email to speedpowerperformance@gmail.com. I've been Mark, thank you very much for listening, and I'll catch you in episode 108 of the Strength Coach Podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.